Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you for joining in the session. I'm Sidra Haq and I'm the Education Manager North in ACCA. Today we have organized this exclusive session on ACCA's Competencies framework, and this session will be delivered by Jane Towers-Clark. Dr. Jane Towers-Clark is Head of Economic Partnerships at ACCA and a graduate from Exeter University. She started her career from Chartered Accountant with Ernst & Young. She went to work as lecturer in accountancy in Singapore as an auditor in Australia before returning to UK. She has been head of accounting and finance and economics at Oxford Brookes University. She is also a co-author of the textbook Accounting a Smart Approach and has a doctorate in education from the Institute of Education. We have to wrap up this session due to some commitments within an hour, and you all can ask questions throughout the session in the comment box or in the question box, and we'll be answering you the questions as soon as Jane gets time between the slides. And I would want you all to kind of use her time and utilize her time in an efficient manner and learn something from her. Please welcome Dr. Jane Towers-Clark. Jane, please join in the session.
Thank you very much indeed, and I'm delighted to be here with you this Friday evening in Islamabad, coming from Islamabad. I've had a fantastic week here with the Higher Education Commission, looking at quality and assurance of quality within the higher education system. So it's great to be with you here today. My session with you today is going to be on the ACCA Competency Framework. And it's really to give you an overview of the framework, but also to dive into some areas of the framework. It may be something you know lots about, or it may be something that you don't know a great deal about. So hopefully this will be an informative session for you. Do feel free to ask questions. I'm here to try and answer them for you. And if I can't answer them, I'll try and find somebody that can answer them for you. And as I say, I'm glad to be with you here this evening. So a little bit about the competency framework. So obviously, when you're becoming an accountant, what you want to be able to do is be able to have the skills, the knowledge and the competencies that are required by employers. And so ACCA has developed the competency framework, and this very much provides evidence of those capabilities that you as ACCA qualified members would have. And if you're a student, they would be the capabilities that you would be gathering as you're becoming towards a member, and the same with affiliates. So obviously, as I say, it's based on studies, so we've really looked carefully into this to look at the knowledge, skills and behaviours that employers would be seeking for from finance and accounting professionals. And the ACCA also uses this framework to make sure that as they develop the qualification and move with the qualification, where there are emerging needs of businesses and other stakeholders, that we really seek to make sure that we develop those competencies and work within those competencies. So if we take a look at what the framework looks like. So as I say, the idea of this framework is very much to support your skills and to develop your skills. And they provide assurance to employers that when they recruit somebody from ACCA, that they're actually acquiring people who have those skills, who have those essential competencies for their business in order to drive growth. You'll see that we've got a rather nice wheel here that's got at the absolute core the ethics and professional skills. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. That we've got the ethics, I'm sorry, I'm moving this one and not moving this one. Ethics and professional skills at its absolute core. Now what you can see here is there are some generic competencies as well. So if you look down the right hand side of the picture here, you'll see that we've got data, digital and technology, strategy and innovation, leadership and management, stakeholder relationship management, and sort of governance. Now, a lot of these can be seen as generic items that could be actually applied to many professions as well, but you'll see when we go into them that we actually look at them in detail in the context of being an accounting and finance professional. And then we've got other competencies within here, which are very much targeted at accounting and finance professionals like taxation, audit and assurance, management accounting, etc. So what I'm going to do over the next half hour or so is go through each of these competencies with you and look at them, and also then try and delve into those competencies a little bit more so you can see what they are. and then also see about the jobs that are related to these. So if you can imagine with a competency framework, once you've got these skills that you've gained, you're then obviously able to apply for jobs that are within that. So we'll look a little bit of that as well. I think it's also worth saying that if you look at this online, and I haven't got a live version of this, but you obviously can access a live version using internet, obviously, you can actually drill down through the ACCA website into each of these competencies, and it's a fantastic way of looking at these. So if you haven't had a go at this, do please have a look at this and drill down into them, because what you'll see, and I'll show you again in a minute, that these actually tie through very much into job roles, and those job roles then tie through into the jobs board. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So what I'll do is, as I say, I'll go through each of these competencies, draw them out so you can actually understand what it looks like within the context of an accounting and finance professional, and then look a little bit about the job roles as well. So if we look at the first one I'm going to look at, and we're going to look here about leadership and management. So if you think about what leadership and management is, it's about managing resources within the organisation that you're working, but also leading those organisations, and beyond that, making sure that you do it within an ethical framework. It's also about understanding your stakeholders, so understanding what their needs are and what their priorities are. And what that means in reality, so how do we take that within the ACCA context? It means that our students, affiliates and members very much are seeking to have the tools to make them thinking leaders, so people who think ahead and who are leaders within an organisation. And as you'll know, if you are working in an organisation, if you're seeking to lead it, it's not only about leading people, but it's also about motivating people, and it's about inspiring people, and inspiring them then to get the most out of their performance, to maximise their performance. And I think all elements of the ACCA qualification, everything you do with it in it, so that be exams, your ethics and professional skills module, your practical experience, they all come together to make sure that you have that skill of leadership and management to actually offer that within your organisation and be able to do that. If we look at the next one, we're going to look at, and if you go back to the wheel, what you'll see is in that wheel, I'm going around the outside of this wheel looking at each of the different areas. So one of these is actually being able to manage the different stakeholders. So be that you could have customers, you could have internal stakeholders, you could have senior management teams. So all the different customer stakeholders that you have, is important to be able to manage those expectations, but also to be able to align them to what the organisation is actually seeking to do. So your organisation will have a vision, it'll have a mission, it'll have objectives, and you very want to make sure that all your stakeholders are aligned in going towards that. But also you want to engage with them and communicate with them all the information that you've got about your organisation, and also using technologies that are suitable within the environment that you're working. So if we take that through to the ACCA context, we want to be able to give students, affiliates and members those skills that enable them to work with other people, that to be able to communicate with other people, but to communicate in a diverse range. And if you just take the example of myself being here in Pakistan, the types of people that you'll be working with, be that government officials, be that people from the United States Fulbright Commission, be that people who are experts from other countries, you're going to want to be able to engage with all those kind of people and work with those kind of people. The strategic professional level, some of you will have done those, some of you perhaps are on your route to doing those, really seeks to make sure that encourages you and develops those things and those broader thinking skills and the approach to communication with stakeholders. So if you think of the types of exams, strategic business leader, strategic business reporting, and the types of skills that those exams encourage. Now, if you look into this competency framework, what you will see is if you drill down, it'll show you specifically where in the exams these actual competencies that are being developed. I haven't included them on here. They're very, very detailed, but if you're interested in working out where this comes from, you can drill right down into that and actually see that. So it's a good way of really understanding how you can develop that. So if you want to look at this in even more detail, if you go onto the ACCA website and drill down, you'll be able to see that. The third area I'm going to look at is looking at governance, risk and control. So obviously really important if you are working in accounting and finance that you know about appropriate governance, that you know how to evaluate, that you know how to monitor, and that you really know and understand about risk. Your organisation will probably have some sort of risk register that you'll be working with, and also understanding with that how you can actually design and implement controls. So there are obviously internal audit controls and internal control systems, and you've really got to understand about the risks that are in there and how do you mitigate those risks. In terms of how we apply this within the ACCA qualification, this is an absolutely fundamental aspect of the Strategic Business Leader exam. An ACCA qualification actually makes sure that we examine this in practical ways. We have real-life case studies, as you'll know, in SBL and SBR, and examples of this in different businesses, so you can really seek to understand what those risks might be, how you might go about evaluating them, how you might go about monitoring them, recording them, improving them, and how they might be looked at within the internal control system. So again, a fundamental element. But as you can imagine, for employers, they're going to want people to do that. And I just think of myself, employed by ACCA, I'm a qualified accountant, and one of the jobs of my role is actually to look at risk, to consider the level of risk, and then to look at how we mitigate that risk and how we measure that risk. So a fundamental element that you'll need to do. If we look at the next area, so actually what I'm going to do here is actually, if you drill down on this within the website, what you will then drill down into is the types of jobs that, if you have these skills and these competencies, that you could undertake. So for example, for governance and risk and control, if this is an area of particular interest to you and you kind of specialised in this area, the types of jobs you could get are things like being a forensic accountant. As you can imagine, you need the ability to understand all the risks and controls within that. A non-executive director, so a director from outside the organisation that comes and sits on the board, so and gives an external perspective on this, or you could be some sort of regulatory specialist. Now, what you can do here, and again, I haven't included it because there would be endless slides, but you can drill down into this. So if you wanted to understand more about what a forensic accountant was, you could actually drill down into that. And that's fantastic. It's a great way of really understanding the types of roles that are available out there. So it's obviously not just being an auditor or something like that. Could be an auditor, but it could be lots of things that you could do. So drilling down and really looking at the jobs. The fantastic thing is about this is you can also then drill down into the jobs board. Now we've got, I think at the moment, when I looked earlier this week, there were 37,000 jobs on our jobs board. So we've got a jobs board out there that helps you to find jobs globally. So you can look at the kinds of jobs that are available. And I had a test of it earlier this week. So I drilled down through the external auditor role, and it actually then pulled out external auditor roles that are available globally via this board. So a really useful thing to have. And I wish I'd had that kind of thing when I was looking at the kind of jobs that you can actually do as an accounting and finance professional, because it's a really great way of understanding the breadth of jobs that are available out there and the types of competencies that are required for it. So if we move on to the next one, which is corporate and business reporting. So as you will know, and many of you are probably involved in this, it's really important that you are able to report back to your stakeholders. So for preparing and communicating business reports to help stakeholders understand and help them make decisions about an organisation. Obviously within ACCA, so if we go into the ACCA context of this, our exams are based on international financial reporting standards, and our students, affiliates and members very much have the technical knowledge to prepare business reports, and that is across a wide range of jurisdictions. As you know, ACCA is very much a global organisation, with a very wide number of students and members, and we work across a range of jurisdictions, so it's really important to understand that. We have really complex transactions nowadays that take place, as many of you will be aware with the IFRS is, and again, it's really important that our students and our members and our affiliates can really analyse those complex transactions and be able to identify again those issues. These are high-level skills: analysis, evaluation, looking at risk, understanding risk, creating controls over this. They're really complex things to do, so that they're things that you would expect somebody that's completed the ACCA qualification to do, but they're things that we develop during the qualification. Again, going back to these strategic professional level exams, the highest level of our exams, the highest level of complexity, developing those level 7, those master's level skills, really this SBR exam really focuses on understanding, communicating transactions and really understanding what they mean and the impact of those transactions as well. So it's really important that you can actually do that. Again, if we want to look a little bit about the types of roles that will be available, so if this again is an area of particular strength, and I'm sure many of you will feel that you have strengths in certain areas. Now, you might have decided to do, for example, one of the electives such as audit or taxation. Obviously, you will have done strategic business leader and strategic business reporting, but you will have areas that you specialise in. And certainly when I did my exams, an area that I knew I was particularly good at was analysing of financial statements and those sorts of things. So this is the kind of thing that I was particularly interested in. Types of jobs available here could be things like being a financial accountant within an organisation, being a fixed asset manager, data visualisation specialist. If you don't know what these things are, you can drill down into this and it explains what those jobs are. And if you think that's something of interest, you can then drill down again and see the kinds of jobs that are available globally within these particular specialisms. So it's a great framework to be able to use. Going on to financial management. So part of being an accounting and finance professional is being able to understand the types of investments that you can make, but also the financing decisions that you make for those investments, and be able to appraise those, to be able to understand about what happens if you reorganise a business, be able to look at risk management and the taxation around that, to think about treasury and working capital management, and make sure you can create value out of that. So really quite complex areas, this, I think, and then advanced financial management, a difficult exam, difficult exam to be undertaking. So in terms of what this actually means, so ACCA students will have a deep understanding of aspects of financial management. If you go on and do the advanced financial management, which obviously is one of the electives, so this would be something you'd be electing to do, then it's the most progressive on the market out there and will give you a really solid grounding to areas which are really critical to businesses. And it's really important that you're able to communicate different aspects of financial management back to the organisation to make them understand that. So investment appraisal, those kind of things, absolutely fundamental to organisations deciding whether or not to invest in an organisation, whether to buy or to make, and obviously the returns that you're going to get on those investments. In terms of the kinds of jobs available to that, so applying this to a real life scenario, the kinds of things you could do, Chief Financial Officer would be an example of work within financial management area, more specialist on the terms of a credit control manager, and then things like a business evaluation assessment specialist. So some really detailed jobs there, again, you can drill down into if you don't know what they are and see the types of things you might be interested in undertaking, the types of jobs available to that. In terms of management accounting, so obviously you've got the financial reporting side, which is external, you've got the management accounting side, which is very much the internal looking element of accounting and finance. So it's really being able to assess your management accounting, evaluate your management accounting, and then implement any management accounting or performance management systems. And these very much help you to plan, measure, and control and monitor your business. And again, it's going back to the sustainable value creation. In terms of where this is obviously a core skill within any accounting and finance professional. So it's embedded at all 3 levels, so skills, knowledge and strategic professional level for the ACCA qualification. We very much try to make sure that the qualification now is very much looking at workplace scenarios, so you can try and put yourself in the situation of being in the workplace and understanding how you actually take that. And obviously planning control are really vital to any business. So all ACCA affiliates, members and students really need to make sure they have a very good grounding in this core area. We've got advanced performance management, which I obviously spoke about earlier as well. It's one of the elective cages, and that has got a comprehensive case study for high-level management accounting and performance management techniques. So again, an area that you can really look into in detail. So again, if we look at the types of roles that are available here, again, we've got things like financial planning analyst, financial controller, or a business analyst, so helping you delve down into those particular areas. Taxation, so very much a specialist area looking at here, so important to understand if you're an accountant. And again, this is an area that you might specialise in, taxation, but you've also obviously got to go through the basics of that as well. So you need to understand about tax regulation and systems. We go back to this really core skill of being able to communicate to different stakeholders, but also to very much manage in an ethical way the tax liabilities for individuals and companies, and make sure you are behaving ethically and professionally within that. And also to think about the techniques for it, so be that tax computations or planning techniques. So in terms of the ACCA qualification, again, it's important to have an understanding of tax, impact on transactions, and in the business generally. And obviously you can, if you wish, then go on and specialise in the area of taxation as one of your exams at a strategic professional level. So as you can imagine, this is an area where you would be much more likely to specialise as perhaps a business partner in taxation, or become a tax accountant in an organisation as well. So they're quite specialist areas. Another specialist area is that of audit and assurance. So it's an area that a lot of students obviously will go into. There's a wealth of jobs out there with audit. It's an area that I went into with a large audit firm. So lots and lots of jobs out there in that. In order to provide a high quality audit, you need to be able to understand the IT systems, the information systems, control systems, internal control systems, know how to gather evidence, know how to undertake procedures in terms of advisory, audit and assurance. So some really complex areas that you need to really have a grasp of within audit and assurance. So we do offer it obviously at skills and knowledge level, but also at the strategic professional level as well. So it is a compulsory element at the lower levels, as you can imagine. It's a fundamental area that you would need to understand being an accounting and finance professional, but also you've then got this specialism if you want to take that. So if you're thinking of working in that area, it gives you a really good insight into that. And our audit exams cover lots of areas, but some examples given here are things like due diligence, forensic audits, public sector audits. So obviously a lot of students may be working in their countries within public sector audits, and other audit and assurance engagements. So an area that's of great importance, and lots of students do go into it. And obviously a lot of the large firms that you tend to hear about, EY, PwC, KPMG, those will all have audit sections in them. And as I say, lots of students get employed within those areas. In terms of the jobs available, so you could be things like an external auditor, to say that's the route that I took, an audit manager, so you're going to move up within the business, and again, it could be something broader than that. It could be a business advisor that you could be looking at here. So talking about advisory and consultancy now. So it's important, again, and an interesting area to be involved in is both internal, external, developing insights into those, making sure that you can provide expertise and expert advice, and adding value to the business. You want to be able to support your clients' objectives and really to improve and innovate and grow. So a lot of the firms that I was just talking about, they often have advisory and consultancy wings, which currently, as you'll know, are probably attached, but they may not be attached. And so can be separate areas and separate organisations as well. And obviously, if you're going in to advise and consult with a business, you're going to want to be able to looking at how they can make efficiencies. They're going to want to be looking at those areas. And in the days of changing business conditions, really advise people as to how they can move on and change their business to meet fast-moving needs. So part of the ACCA qualification will really be trying to help students and members to assess, evaluate and understand the business environment, but also to go beyond that and seek to provide advice on the business in relation to this. The ACCA qualification very much seeks to provide this rounded and solid grounding in that for the advisory role, and also through the assessment using business case studies, as you know, at the strategic professional level, is really looking to try and provide advice within those areas and build on that. So again, if we look at the types of, actually don't have any jobs within that particular area, so let's look at data, digital and technology. If you do want to, just going back to the previous slide, obviously that for each of the areas that I've been looking at within the competency framework, there are jobs drilled down within that. So even if I haven't included these on the slides that you can see here, if you go into the website and drill down into those competencies, you will, for each of those competencies, be able to drill down and look at jobs within those. And as I mentioned earlier on in the session, you'll then be able to drill down those and look at the jobs available on the jobs board within that and the types of roles that you can actually see at the moment within the jobs board. Okay, data, digital and technology. So if we think about when I started this session, we talked about those areas and competencies that are very much targeted at accounting and finance professionals. So things like management accounting, things like tax, things like audit. When we start to move into these kind of competencies, if we look now at data, digital and technology, these are much broader competencies, which, yes, absolutely vital for accounting and finance professionals, but very much important as well in the much broader context of the kinds of skills that employers are needing nowadays. We know that all employers are looking for people who are coming to them having skills in data, digital and technology. In terms of what does this actually mean, well, it's part of it is being able to use those technologies to support the business objectives, to help improve the business, but also to innovate within the business, to gain advantage within that, but taking it from a professional skepticism and ethics perspective as well, when you're thinking about what sort of technologies you're going to use, where you're going to source them from, and how you're going to apply them. So in terms of what we expect our qualification to develop for students and members, we really want them to build not only on the knowledge about those technologies and thinking about those, but build on the skills to actually understand financial and non-financial data, but understand that within a professional ethical context. So if you think about the ethics and professional skills module, and some of you may have already taken that, and if you're a member, you could well have taken it as well, or you could take it if you want to. If you previously did the professional ethics module, you can go on and do the ethics and professional skills module. If we look at that, we've recently introduced a data analytics module. So again, it's actually getting you to do these things in practice, but also with strategic business leader, and particularly at a strategic professional level when it comes to moving online and CBE, you'll be really using artifacts and things like that to pull in and drive and look at things like Excel spreadsheets, all those kind of things will come in. So as I say, but ethics and professional skills module, embedding digital and data, particularly at strategic professional levels. So real life case studies, again, a great way of trying to implement this and think about the digital and data technology and the opportunities within businesses. So some great ideas within that, and what a great skill and competency to have when you go into the workplace to be able to do that. If you haven't had a go at the Ethics and Professional Skills module and you're working your way towards a strategic professional, I really recommend that you do it as soon as possible. If you're a member and perhaps haven't done it because you did professional ethics, do go and have a go at the Ethics and Professional Skills module. You know, it's a really great thing to have a go at. And if we think back to the very beginning picture, and I might just try and go back up to the top here, once we've got that. Oh, I'm going up, but you're not. Hang on, let's see if I can go back on here. If I can get back, so we just go back through all the different competencies here. And we're seeing all the very detailed competencies. I just want to go back to the beginning to show you the picture of what we've covered so far. So there's the picture there, and the final area. So we've talked about all the ones that are surrounding there. That's the framework. So that is a framework of what you get if you are becoming an ACCA member. You will have the competencies of all those areas. So if you try and look at it, an overall picture of you as a rounded accountant, a well-rounded accountant, you will have all those competencies. You can see at the absolute core of that framework is ethics and professionalism. So I think that's really important that you see this as at the core of what you do and who you are as an accounting finance professional, that you have an ethics and professionalism at that very centre, the very heart of what you do. Yeah. So if we just go back down, so I would like to jump back to that as well just to finish, but let's just go back and see what it talks about in terms of ethics and professionalism. It's a bit running through. It's just because I've got these obviously on two different sections here. So just going through to ethics and professionalism. There we go. So what in terms of what that is, it's applying what you've learned throughout your qualification and your judgment within that, within the professional fundamental principles of ethics and professional behaviour, making sure that you're using ethical frameworks, laws and regulations to your business and making sure promoting value in the terms of the public interest. In terms of what that means, as I say, ethics and professionalism are absolutely fundamental core to the ACCA qualification and fundamental and core to any finance professional. We've got this fantastic training through the Ethics and Professional Skills module, so there's a great way of doing that. And obviously what's great about this is it provides you with a safe environment. It's going to ask you difficult questions that really make you think about what you should do and how you should behave in a situation, but it's a totally safe environment. It's not going to judge you if you don't get it right. It's going to advise you and help you and say, actually, do you know what? Have you thought about this? So it's a great way of actually going about it. It's obviously examinable at the highest level. Again, these strategic professional exams are very much looking at bringing out these higher level skills, getting you to pull together all the things you've learned so far as part of a real case study. And what we are looking for our students, affiliates and members to do is really to make sure that you hold ethics in the highest possible regard you can, and that you behave in the manner that's expected in order to promote value in your public interest. As I say, I recommend the Professional Ethics and Skills module. So if we just now go back up to the overall framework, so that what I want you to really be able to think about now, I'm just going to have to go back through the slides again, is I want you to be able to think about what that is now we're actually looking at. I've gone into a lot of detail and a lot of depth about what it is, but what a framework does and what it's intended to do is to show you as a picture, as a snapshot of what makes up a professional accountant from ACCA, so what you have out of that. So you can see here you've got these very detailed skills, and all of them are developed within the qualification. You've got these very detailed competencies, but you've also got these things like leadership and management, like stakeholder relationships, like strategy and innovation. These are all things that you are developing as you go through the qualification. And at the heart of that, as I say, are your ethics and professional skills. So if you want to use this, you can use it in all sorts of contexts. So you can use it as a student to say, well, where am I going to get these skills? How am I going to get audit and assurance skills? If you want to know where you get them, you click on that, you drill down into that. It will tell you what that means, which is just what I've been through with you. It will then go into exactly where in each of the exams you get these competencies. So you can be very clear where you're getting them from. It then shows you the types of jobs you can get and links you to the jobs board. But let's say you're an employer, let's say you're an ACCA member. It actually enables you to think, okay, well, where can I do training for things? Where can I do learning and development? Where am I going to see those skills developed? Where am I going to find people where I'm going to find those skills? You know, it's really a tool that you can really expand and understand, and gives you a real in-depth insight into what it means to be an ACCA qualified accountant and all the skills and the competencies that go with that. There are areas obviously I haven't been able to show you within the time frame that we've got, and also they're very, very detailed. So I really would recommend that what you do is you try and have a look at it yourself, spend the time going through, think about perhaps where you're going to use it, how you're going to use it, depending on where you are in your journey. You know, you could be a very senior member of staff, but equally you could be somebody starting the beginning of your ACCA journey. And I think it's got uses for all people, and also it really gives you the in-depth insight into the ACCA qualification in a sort of snapshot here with the ability to drill down. So that's an overview of the competency framework. As I say, there's lots more to it. There's information about professional quotients, which I haven't included in here, the transferable skills side. There's lots of information in that. They're in there. Loads of information about the exams and how they fit in. Loads of information about the job roles and what they actually are and what the jobs are. And of course, all the jobs that go with it as well. So there is lots more. I appreciate I've given you a very high level view here of the competency framework. But I really hope that's been useful to you. I don't know how many of you have looked at it so far, how much detail you knew about it, but I hope it's given you an oversight and perhaps an appetite to really delve into it more and understand more about it. So I've got lots of time available to answer any questions I've got. For those of you that can't see, I've got a group of I don't know whether affiliates, members and students here with me this evening, so welcome to all of you there. And also we've got people online, so I'd be very happy to answer questions, and if I can't answer them, I can hopefully find somebody that can later on. So yeah.
My name is Mohammed Isan.
Hello.
And my question is that from which URL we can access this competency framework, and being a member of ACCA, how can we get into the details of each segment of this competency framework? Okay,
so it's on the ACCA Global website. So if you go onto the ACCA Global website and just type in competency framework, what it will do is it will take you to the page that has this on it. And as you go into that page, you will be able to access all the different elements from it. It's all linked through. So it's very easy to access. You just go through that. And then each of those, you can then click on them and drill down. It will link you directly through. I know it all works because I did it earlier this week before I was doing this presentation, obviously preparing for it. What I wanted to do was make sure I understood how it all drilled down. It does work very, very well. If you, for example, I drilled down on the audit and assurance area, which took me to the description. Then within there, it takes you to within the exams, you drill down within there. It also has a section which takes you down to job roles. If you go on those job roles, it takes you to what the job role is and explains it. And if you go on drill down there, it takes you to the job board, and it takes you to the actual jobs on the job board which are being advertised. So I could then actually see jobs that are being advertised within the job board. So it does all of that for you, and it's a great tool. You know, there's not many places, 37,000 jobs on there for accounting and finance people. So it's a fantastic tool to be able to access for anyone that's thinking about, you know, jobs and types of jobs. And actually, even if you are an employer, I think it's a great way of knowing, you know, the types of job roles that are out there. It can give you a good insight into the types of salaries that are available, you know, the types of expectations that employers have, because it has obviously the job details on there. So yeah, it's really useful, and also gives you an insight into the kinds of institutions that are offering roles at the moment in the different areas. So I think it's useful for people looking for jobs, but also for anyone that's an employer that is looking to then go and employ students and affiliates and members, whichever level, could be any level. Yeah, is that helpful?
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
good.
excellent. Thank you for the
Is
question.
this verifiable?
Is this,
Verifiable for CBT?
so do you mean, sorry, what, can I get into?
I mean to say that the seminar you conduct right now, is this verifiable?
Oh, for CPD?
Yeah, for CBT.
I have no idea. I can't answer the question. Do you know the answer to that? No.
I guess it's not.
Yeah, I really don't know. Yeah, good question. Don't know the answer, but I'm sure that we can find out
We can
from.
do that, we can do that. So we will take your question.
Yeah.
Get back to you on that. All right.
Yeah. So don't know to the answer to that one, but a very good question, because as accountants, we all have to do CPD. So you're absolutely right. It's a great question to ask. But I don't know the answer to it. But if you could find out, that would be fantastic, and let them know. Yeah, thank you for the question there. Yeah, great question. Yeah, really important to record your CPD and show that you're doing it. So you're obviously a member. Yeah, thank you.
I am an ACCA member.
Yeah.
My name is Abdurrahim. Okay, the members who passed papers previously.
Yeah.
Now you are talking in certain areas. We're talking about the new scheme, the strategic business management paper, which is made about P1 and P3 by a combination.
Exactly.
How can the members who have passed in the old scheme can come to the competency level which is being produced in the new coming students?
Yeah, that's a good question.
By this new approach, because we did the papers in the old method, old approach.
Yeah. I don't know if you can do the papers. Do you know if you can do the papers once you're a member, if you can go back and do papers?
Once you're a member?
Yeah.
With my basic information that I have, once you become a member, I mean, you can actually go for MSc further, but once you're done, you can actually not go back and do the paper again. But then again, they're having some few changes in the course, in the route for members. I can also get back to you on that with what's the latest development with.
Yeah, because it'd be useful to know whether members can go on and do either strategic business leader exam or strategic business reporting. Yeah, because they're different types of exams now, obviously. I don't know whether you can, but again, it's a really good question. And so we'll find out for you whether you can actually.
If I could answer that one. This is Carol here from ACCA Karachi office. Members can, I think if I can answer this one, members can actually take an additional exam if they want to, but they have to, obviously they've completed all of their examinations, but if they want to take an additional exams, that's a separate process, and via an email, they can actually opt in for an additional exam.
Oh, okay. Great, that's really helpful. Thank you, Fatima. So obviously it's possible to go on and do the exam. So if you want to do that, you
not
are
only going for the exam, it is about covering the difference or covering the gap. It is not only giving the exam, passing it once again, or failing and trying to pass. It's something to cover up the gap, some presentation or some changes in the new scheme, giving us the chance to study some article, some sort of video or something.
Yeah, so there's obviously lots available online. So if you want to do that, if you want to look at everything that's available for strategic business leader or strategic business reporting, again, on the ACCA website, there are fantastic resources to actually support you in that. So you can actually see all sorts of things on there, and you would have full access to those, obviously. So what I would recommend is one opportunity is to go and look at the resources, which would obviously be all sorts of things in there that you can look at. But also then if you did want to have a go at the exam just to see yourself how you got on, it's obviously not counting towards your qualification or anything like that because you've already got that. But if you wanted to see it, to see, you know, to have a go at that, then you can do both. So there's a great opportunity there for you to do that. So that's good. Yeah.
Just another question, Mike. The question is that, you know, there should be a lot of internal pressure, like from the CFOs and all. And if you want to maintain your professionalism, that you have to apply your ACCA qualification and all the techniques that you have learned so far.
Yeah.
So in order to maintain professionalism, let's say I try to maintain the competency framework and not applying the rules that my CFO wanted me to apply that. So what is the remediation ACCA suggests to report such matters?
Yeah, so you mean if you feel you're being compromised? Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a very difficult situation to be in. I think it would depend who is, you know, what level you're at and who you can go to. So, you know, whether there is somebody within your organisation you would could go to outside the person that's putting pressure on you.
The organisation is small.
Yeah.
So
part of it depends on obviously the seriousness of it. So you've got to think very carefully about the seriousness of it, whether it's something that's illegal or not, and whether it would need to be reported. So it is possible there are usually reporting mechanisms, and I honestly don't know what they are in Pakistan, so I'm not going to try and comment on that. But certainly within my country, there are routes that you can go to if you need to, if it's illegal or not illegal. There are different bodies that you can go to. I would say always try and sort it out internally first if you can. I appreciate with a small organisation that can be extremely difficult and you can be under a lot of pressure. There are places that you can obviously, or should be places within your country that you can go to, but I'm not going to try and advise on that.
Well, one thing I expect from ACCA is that there should be a platform where members or affiliates can discuss such situations.
I think if you've got, yeah, I mean, I think if you've got a mentor, I think, you know, obviously within the ACCA office, there would be people that you could speak to within the ACCA office to seek to get advice, or your local office. If it's a really difficult question, I'm sure there would be people who would be willing to kind of discuss things with you. If you've got a mentor, you know, whether there's somebody that can mentor you. You know, the worst scenario to be is, and I've certainly heard people that have had to do this, you know, they've resigned out of principle. So if they felt that, you know, you have your own set of standards, you have also the standards that are set with you through your professional body. If you feel those are being fully compromised and you cannot get resolution, then the thing that you have to do is remove yourself from that. And I've certainly had people that I know that said there was no way they would do what was being required of them, and the only option they had was to resign, you know, and walk away from it. So that's obviously a very extreme thing to do, but you kind of have to measure it against what you think you're being asked for, and that depends on what's being asked of you. It is everyone finds it a very difficult situation. There are obviously whistleblowing situations as well. In large organisations, you can have people who are whistleblowers. Again, that's a really hard thing to do, but I think you have to stand by your professional body's ethics and professionalism. That's what you have to go back to. That's the absolute core of what you believe in, and you stand by that. Don't be compromised with what would be my advice. But as I say, you would have ACCA staff who would be able to hopefully provide you advice, or maybe seek to tie you up with an ACCA member mentor who you could discuss in a sort of safe environment situation. But a very good question. Yeah.
Regarding this issue of ethics, I have been through this, and I was working in Gulf country.
Yeah.
And I resigned due to certain issues.
Yeah.
What I think is that the ACCA as a body should support the members facing the consequences of behaving ethical. By creating some fund of insurance or something like this to support the economic conditions which the members face because of failing or acting ethically. There can be some fund or insurance they can maintain or something like this.
Obviously, with auditors and people like that, they would have public liability insurance and those kind of things. Yeah, I have to admit that's slightly outside of my my area of knowledge, so it's probably not something I could comment on at this point in time. I can certainly feed it back, you know, as a comment, certainly, but it's probably not my area of specialism, that. But thank you for raising it. Yeah.
Carol, can you hear me? Carol?
Yes, yes. Can I just also ask you, there is one question from the webinar, and we have an online audience, and this is Akib, who's asked how a member of ACCA who qualified 12 years ago can develop these competencies. So that's the question by Akib.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've just been talking about this earlier, actually. So obviously, with if they qualified that, then they wouldn't have done strategic business leader and strategic business reporting exams, but you would still have developed competencies during that time. They might be slightly different, but there is lots of opportunity on the ACCA website to look at all the current support materials available for all the strategic professional exams and all exams all the way through. There's also the opportunity, if they wish to go ahead and do the exams, which my colleague recently spoke about from the Karachi office, that it is possible to do an exam. Even though you've finished your ACCA exams, you can go on and do one as strategic professional. So there's lots of opportunity there. Of course, there are articles written in for the student accountant, but also in Teach. So there's lots of articles available about all different areas of the ACCA qualification. I think the other thing to bear in mind, there's lots of CPD available through ACCA in all sorts of different areas, and lots of materials available. And so, yeah, there's all sorts of sort of routes that you can gain and continue to gain CPD as you're an ACCA member and sort of going on beyond that. And obviously, you do need to do CPD as a member, so you would be naturally doing some of that anyway. But yeah, lots of opportunities available for that, I think.
Great. Carol, any more questions, Carol, from your end?
We have the online audience. If there's anybody, we'll give it 5 minutes. If there's anybody who'd like to ask any questions, please type in, or
Sure.
we'll then close up, wind up.
Any questions here
Any
from the
questions
audience
from the
here?
audience
We've
here?
got. Thank you very much for attending here. It's really great to see you in person.
We'll just wait for 5 minutes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no problem at all. Very happy. Yeah. Has any of you, just out of interest, asking you, any of you looked at the competency framework previously?
I guess we did that because we have fulfilled the requirements of ethics and professionalism.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah, great. Okay. Have you drilled down into it and looked at all the different areas previously?
I think it's advanced now.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah. So it's sort of moved on, has it? Yeah, that's really good. I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can access, out of interest, whilst we're here. Are we able to access the internet here and have a look at it in real life, or is that going to be just too complicated?
Let me look. Just see if
Might
I
be able
can
to do
do
that as we've got a few minutes and we're waiting for people. Might ask questions. It might be worth
Let
just.
me wait. Let me see. Let me try to connect this or there.
Yeah, I don't know if we can, but it would just be interesting to show you. We can show you in real life what it looks like. Are you all members here? All ACCA members? Great. Yeah.
So once again, as we have some time, so one recommendation that like the ethics and professionalism module, which is mandatory to be filled online.
Yeah.
If there can be something which would be available to cover the gap of the old members up to the new skills and rather than going for the paper again and preparing and like a student, because that is a different approach, going for a paper and filling online like MCQs or like scenarios and working out through this. It is like a different approach. This can fill the gap between the professionals.
Yes, I mean, obviously you can, I would really recommend if you haven't, did you do the professional ethics module or the ethics and professional skills?
Years ago.
So I would really recommend doing the ethics and professional skills module, you know.
Once again, we can opt in to do
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'd strongly recommend doing it. You know, so it's a great module, really good to do. It'll help you because it'll improve things like, as I say, we've got a new data analytics module attached to it. So what a great skill to be able to go to your employer and say, you know, I've got undertaken this work, I've shown my data analytics and can actually show that. So I would strongly recommend doing it. I think that would probably be the best way of going about building those skills and furthering those skills. Because obviously you will have developed other skills during your 10 years post-qualification, whatever it is, yeah. You will have developed all sorts of skills in that time anyway yourself. And I'm sure doing other CPD you will have developed things as well.
Regarding the data analytics module of this competency framework, are there any sort of like proper courses of data analytics and ACCA resources that ACCA is offering to its members?
Yes.
Because there's a lot of demand of data analytics now.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, so that's certainly being worked on. I know that there's a lot of work going into that at the moment. The main place where it is at the moment is attached to the ethics and professional skills module. So that's available in there. So that data analytics module is already in there. So you can go and do that now. And I know that we're kind of obviously looking at building on other areas because, as you quite rightly say, it's a really important area that people are still building on. So it's whether we can have a quick go at this and just see whether I can actually show you what it looks like. In there. Don't worry if we can't, but I just thought as we've got a few minutes, we could perhaps try and have a quick peek. So there's the ACCA homepage. If you pop into it, competency framework. So if you type in the competency framework there, you'll see that. Yeah, it should find it for you, I think. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And if you apply to that, yeah, and what you'll see there. Okay, so there we go. So if you click on the first one, there it is. So it's very easy to find. If we go into there and you run, yeah, cast your eye down there. So what it is, it talks about what it is, why it might be useful for you, which is what we've been talking about. If you click on the bit that says the ACCA Competency Framework, I think that's the bit that it goes through, the red bit, I think.
ACCA Competency Framework?
Yep, in there. Yeah. Okay. There you go. So you can go into that and scan down there. So there's a picture of, if we look then, learn how and when to use the competency framework. If you go onto that red bit and go into there.
This one?
Yeah. And then I think actually you have to go into competency. So that's basically all the information that talks to you there. Now I think you can go in from these. So if you click on, for example, taxation, I think that'll take you in. No, so if you go back out of that one, back one, and so yeah, go back out of this, which you probably need to click on the top left, yeah, and go down to competencies, yeah, and go into the red bit there, okay, and then it goes through each of the competencies there. So if you go into audit and assurance view competency, the red bit again, yeah. And go into that. That tells you all about, so if we go down again, yeah, on the down on the right hand side, there we go. So there's all the audit and assurance and what it means, which is what we were talking about earlier. You can, if you go further down, it tells you all the places of where you can actually develop it in all the exam syllabus, where we were saying. So you can actually look in here, so you can go all of those and see, okay, where am I developing it? So that's all the detail I was telling you about. So keep going down, that's it. And keep going right down and you'll find towards the bottom. So keep going to the bottom of that. It's got the professional quotients that I was telling you about. And there's the example, so those are the professional quotients it links through. And there's the example jobs. Now, if you go into example jobs, so if you go into external auditor and click on that, it then tells you, again, what an external auditor is and does all of that. And can you see on the right-hand side, it's then got the jobs there? So you can actually see that particular one there is a finance manager role. And you keep going down there, yeah, and then you can see there's finance manager in Yorkshire, 50 to 55,000 pounds. And you keep going down, it tells you all the kind of jobs you'll be doing as an external auditor and all of that. So if you keep going down on that, and all the jobs, the kind of entry requirements that are required for it, the types of progression that you get through the role, which is great, all the exams that you can do, performance objectives, the PR that's required, and all the how it links to your PR as well, which is brilliant. The fact that you might need a practicing certificate, so giving you more detail on that, and then more about the competencies at the bottom. So it kind of all ties back up again. So it's a fantastic way of actually looking down as to what you can see, and that just gives you an idea for one of them, and that's for every single one of them. It will go into that for you and tell you all about that. So you can see there's a lot of detail there that you can actually drill down into that I haven't been able to obviously go into today, but it gives you loads of information on that. And you can see it's very, very easy to use, so it's great. It's really, does that give you a good view as to what it looks like? Does that make you want to go back and have a go at it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We always wanted to do strategy exams. We want to qualify strategy again because now the name changes now.
Yeah. Strategic business is strategic business
It
reporting.
makes us inspired from that.
Yeah. I can understand that. That's really great. Yeah. That's really good to know that and to know people are aspiring to do that. Yeah. I think this gives you a really good idea. You can look at these. Yeah. Right.
So about it.
Any other questions?
Anything else?
Yes,
Oh, it's
Jane,
a
we have
pleasure.
one
Fantastic to
last
be here.
question. Says
Oh, yeah.
during the first year of membership, if I don't declare CPD hours, will there be any issues?
I think if you remember, you have to declare your CPD for
Yeah,
ACCA. I'm
definitely.
certainly do. So you would need to, they do need to record their CPD. So yeah, it's an essential part of continuing to be a member, and a really important part of being a member is to have evidence of your CPD and record your CPD. So yeah, you definitely need to be doing that without doubt. Yeah, I certainly have to report back every year as I renew my membership. I have to record my CPD and confirm that I've undertaken CPD. So yes, you do, definitely. Yeah.
I think I can add to it that if you don't fulfill this declaration for 2 consecutive years, end of the second year they write to you that your membership is at risk.
Oh really? Okay, thank you. That's,
second year.
Yeah, that's useful. So so definitely, if you're doing CPD, well, you should be doing CPD. If you do it, make sure you record it and make sure you actually do sign your yearly form that says that you've undertaken your CPD and what you've done and all those sorts of things when you renew membership each year.
There is another question regarding CPD declaration. If someone hasn't completed a declaration for the previous year, and now it's the December of the second year, so he or she can complete the CPD for the previous year in this year and declare it in this year?
I don't know. No, I don't know about CPD. Any insights from the ACCA team here?
Carol, can you, if you're there, can you answer this one question if it's possible, or I can ask them to drop you an email or drop us an email and get back to them.
I think what we can do is, if there's anybody who has queries regarding CPD, Shahrukh, my email ID would be members.pk@acccaglobal.com, and I'll be happy to assist you there. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
great.
very
Once
much.
again,
Carol, can you repeat it? It's members.pk
At accaglobal.com.
@accaglobal.com.
members.
.pk.
Members.pk. It's members.pk @accaglobal.com.
So I guess we have no further questions. Nanita, if I pronounced your name correctly, she's an online audience. Nanita, your question regarding CPD, I'm happy to take this offline. You can contact me on my email address and we can take it from there. I think this should be the last question. No other question on the, yeah, there's no other question.
Okay,
So I
great.
guess
Thank you very much, Carol. Thank you very much to everyone who is here to be a part of this session, and to all my audience who are there online. And thank you very much to you, Ms. Jane.
Pleasure. Thank you very much for having me here. It's been absolutely delightful.
Tea is being served outside, so you guys can come out and have a good session. Thank you.
Yeah, good night.
Thank you, Carol.
thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Is that off now?
Oh yes, it's off.
It's off, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Thank you. Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Very good.
Okay.
यार एक मिनट को आले है ना
Sir, March में आपने